Okay, so what we want to do is, in this case, we want to look at double fragmenting. We're going to turn off crack spreading, and we're going to say, okay, he's going to fly by. Let's actually change some of our parameters here. We want kind of a nice count to get some good fragmenting. Let's just try smooth and distance, see if we get some changes there. Maybe we want a... Let's reduce our radius. Sometimes you have to go really low with radius, 1% or even 0.1 or 0.5 is pretty common. And I'm thinking that we probably want to go with count just to get a little better breakup there. We'll go ahead and see they fly off, okay? And now we want this light as he comes back. What we're going to do is we're going to set it up so that this solid remaining mesh that's still here is actually going to fragment again. We're going to take a look and see what's required of that. Because remember, what's happening is we've got a source particle. This source guy is this orange one. As light comes by, activates the fragment. So these greens are the fragments. So the greens are the fragment group, but we still have some of the source particle remaining. His shape has now changed. He's got a changing topology in his mesh, but he's still there. He's not all the way fragmented. What we're going to do then is we're going to set it up so that he can fragment again. The easiest way to do this, and we're going to take a look at one of the pitfalls, if you just go ahead and duplicate this fragment operator, what will actually happen is it will fragment twice, and you get double the amount of fragments being created, which is not what we really want. This is creating more faces than are actually there, so that's not the way to go. What we do need to do is just put a little check on this to kind of prevent it from fragmenting again for a little bit amount of time. There could be a couple of different ways of doing that. We can look out here and say, okay, right around 80, this light is far enough past that we could say, set up a time interval that starts at 800 and goes into, starts at 80 and goes to 300, where it would be valid, and we can pipe this time interval into the on of this fragment. So this fragment operator is really only going to be turned on and active and create any fragments during this time frame. This will prevent him from creating fragments during this first set of fragmenting. This is all these fragments are being born here. And you can see he goes ahead and creates a bunch of them there. They're going to fly away. And then boom, you saw that update change. Let's take a look at our fragment operator. It's changed some of the face IDs we see. And then as the light comes back, it's going to fragment a second time, and it's going to eat away further at that mesh. So this is kind of a way to set up a secondary fragmenting, to eat away a solid one time, and then yet another time. And you can do this repeatedly with multiple fragment operators in order to continually eat away at this source orange mesh. I think what we may have to do in order to avoid this, you see those faces change there. It looks like it is losing its material ID assignment. Let's try to set in this second fragment operator, we're going to set all these to 0, which should allow them to keep their previous assignments, which it does. But then you can also see we still have the fragments. This is on the second fragment operator. He's manually assigning new IDs, which is changing those inner faces here. We would expect these blue faces to remain blue. So what we're going to have to do, and you can see they're changing there, what we want to do is change all of these just to zeros so that it does not reassign face IDs to those fragments. It just keeps whatever their previous face ID was, material ID. Okay, so you're getting multiple fragmenting there. It's going to eat away that source mesh, and you can do this over and over until finally he's totally eaten away. We're going to go ahead and do this. We'll go ahead and save this scene as fragment to end. And what we want to do is we want to actually save this out as a black box so that we can use it again. In our case, we're going to go ahead and remove this secondary fragmenting. Really what we want to do is we just want to keep a simple setup, and this one is going to be light activated. So let's go ahead, and we've got our born where we're going to take a scene object, turn them into the source particle, and then a fragment rule, which just takes that source group, tells them to fragment using a light, and all these parameters, all these parameters are already set up. So we can go ahead and we'll just come up here to fragment 2, and let's just call this fragment with lights. And we're going to go ahead and with this dynamic set here selected, we'll go ahead and hit save. We'll come up and we're going to save it in the test2 category. We'll call it fragment with lights and hit save. Particle groups after loading, you remember this? This is going to say, it could give you a requester that says, okay, I do want to create some, or I don't want to create any. We can force none to be created. We can require only existing. So if source and fragments are not there, it's just going to use the existing, which might just be all. Then there's exist or create, which will, if source and fragments do exist, it'll use those. Otherwise, it will create them. And of course, the last option is create new, which will force a create of source and fragments, which might lead to duplicates if you already have some in there. Anyway, we'll just use exist or create just to kind of see if they're there and create them if not. It's kind of a fast and easy one. Request is also good. So anyway, we've saved this black box, and we're going to go ahead now and we're going to use this in our next demo scene where we're going to take a look at FR particle lights.